Arigatou gozaimasu. Thank you very much. We are proud and honored to be invited by the National Diet Library of Japan to speak here to you. My name is Lily KNIBBELER, and I'm Director General of the National Library of the Netherlands. This lecture comes in two parts. The first part is done by me, the second part by Elsbeth KWANT. We both look forward to exchanging views in order to learn from each other. We are aware of the fact that we are libraries in different contexts. We represent in many ways, Elsbeth and I, represent in many ways a smaller country in another part of the world. However, we are both national libraries in a digital age. Since 2005, we have walked this road together. Our relationship has been built on a long-term perspective, preserving digital material for the future. In your invitation, you stressed library activities that contribute to the community, digital and networking with organizations. These are subjects to my heart. I will gladly take you on a journey that will be about our efforts more than about our achievements. This is not a presentation about present facts and figures of national deposit tasks in the Netherlands. It is a story about reinventing the core of the National Library in the digital era. A story about possibilities in the digital age. Once in a while, I ask Google what a library is. Look at the options. You can either be classic or modern. But all the images show beautiful spaces with books. And for many centuries, that is what libraries shared, being a space with books. Those books stood for other worlds. In research libraries, you could build on ideas of others. In public libraries, you could read for personal development or for pleasure. Business libraries held what people needed to know for their work. National libraries collected the national published heritage. Life was not uncomplicated in the past, but libraries at least occupied a clear and stable position. They were respected institutes, places breathing higher education and civilization, and more recently, especially the last century, places instrumental in emancipatory education by housing thousands of books worth reading. The library building and its bookshelves were a given, not necessarily reflecting the needs of the users, but more the need of the collections. However, the digital transformation has thoroughly messed up this neatly organized world. We have seen the huge impact that the digital transformation of society is having on people and organizations. This transformation is still in full swing. Combinations of new technologies will enable us to do things that were never deemed possible. The next decade will see a great expansion of information, as well as exciting new opportunities to be able to use this material, such as linked open data and artificial intelligence. And last but not least, we see other digital-born parties doing what the library did best, organizing the world's information, like Google, or giving access to the sum of human knowledge, like Wikipedia. One key takeaway of this lecture is that we no longer hold responsibility for one library, the library on site, but for two. Next to our beautiful spaces, which still have a role to fulfill, we need to take responsibility for a second library, the library online. As national libraries, this is an even stronger responsibility because our physical location or locations cannot serve all our patrons. Our remit as national libraries has been born of the physical age. Though the questions may remain the same, how do we preserve our heritage and serve our community? The answers in the digital realm may be very different. The role of our institutions is not dependent on the shape and place of its buildings anymore. We are thus moving beyond the current form of the library to the function of it, both in a digital and in a physical space. And to know what we should do and in which space, we need to ask ourselves, what did libraries do that we used to value them so much as a force of good to society? We would like to share with you our thinking. As national libraries in the digital age, a focus on societal value using the power of people and technology is essential to the continued relevance of a national library. At the beginning of my lecture, I would like to share 3 core principles which helped us to develop a national library in the digital age. These are the guiding principles that have helped us transform from a library which reached that's a different number, difficult number, which reached little of our population on site, to reaching 1/3 of the Dutch population online. First, we think about the transformation of libraries, about moving ahead with the times. If we think about that, we should start with people. The value of a library is in its use by real people, now and in the future. Our first and biggest focus has been to think in terms of this use and organizing our work from this perspective. In 2015, the KB was designated to play a role in the public library network in the Netherlands. This was added to the work the KB already did for heritage and research with the more classic National Library tasks. This meant we could rethink our role in a way that we saw that working together, the library can add value at every stage of a person's life. Libraries serve communities. What do we do that enhances people's lives? From the moment parents read to a baby, to when he or she learns to read, follows an education, becomes a researcher or someone who reads for pleasure, the library can provide value. And in times of growing inequality, the library can be very important for people who risk losing their connection to society by an inability to read, write, or achieve digital skills. This focus helped us to organize our activities based on this value first and foremost. And societal value can be achieved through physical as well as digital. It's not a question of either or. Digital is just another touch point for people. It's the user of the library who decides in which environment the library is relevant. At home, through the computer, on the road, on a mobile device, or on site. These different access points of the library demand different things of us. As a library, that means working together as a network of libraries and other partners to meet the needs of people. Thus, fully embrace both paradigms, but do not try to address them both in full scope at the level of one organization. Dare to share, join forces. And always keep in mind that it's with the people you serve that the decision of the relevance of your digital and physical services lie. We became a truly national library connected to all the other libraries in the Netherlands. The academic libraries for research and science, cultural heritage institutions for historical material, and public libraries for current reading and lifelong learning. The true value of a library lies in what happens to the person using it. As staff, as organization, we are subservient to that person. Societal value lies in use of the library, not in its pure subsistence. And we can provide that value better if we work together as libraries. That brings me to my second central point, thinking in networks. Putting the community and its needs first refocuses your activities, aimed at societal value above institutional value. This is a major, no, a huge step. Stepping away from the institution and serving its continued existence towards societal value, which is larger than any one institution can handle on its own. Libraries need to work together intensively with long-term commitment towards common goals and with other societal partners to provide relevance in an age that is increasingly volatile, uncertain, ambiguous, and complex. And digitization makes this way of working increasingly necessary and increasingly possible. Necessary because where people used to accept the different rules in the different physical spaces, they tend to have higher expectations of user-friendly services in digital spaces. And increasingly possible because links between services are far less costly in the digital space than in the physical. This has everything to do with legitimacy. For, and I quote, "The quality of the chain of public access to information and the organization's right to exist within that chain is no longer determined by the organization itself, but by their position in relevant networks." And I quote again, "Networks of information connect and share information, resources, activities, and competences of unique and sovereign organizations to realize an outcome together that no single organization can create alone." And with accountability, working as a network is not trivial. It is a fundamental change in the way you look at your work. It's not about power or hierarchy, but about using your assets interdependently for the good of society and realizing where others can do that more effectively. Thinking about organizational networks in this way is relatively new and easier said than done. Trust me. Because it means putting societal value first and not your own institutional perspective and success. It means working together often a bit slower than one could proceed alone. It means listening, giving others a chance, and that is not necessarily the world we all grew up in. I have come to realize that institutional thinking is one of the greatest threats to societal impact in an interconnected world. Our society is built on institutions. Our successes are measured by our key performances indicators and our grants by the key performance indicators of those who finance us. So if we, in the public sector, want to provide true societal value, our authorizing environment, too, needs to recognize the importance of new ways of working together for societal goals. Defining a goal together to address major societal challenges, bridging the digital divide, delivering trusted information and inspiring people, and defining clearly in what role each of us will contribute may help to overcome these formal barriers. Our network context is relatively simple. In the Netherlands, we work as a national library with academic institutions and the 13 university libraries. Traditionally, our partners in supporting the scientific community. With the With the 5 largest heritage institutions, among whom the National Archives, we take responsibility to promote the connected visibility, usability, and sustainability of digital heritage. And since 2015, the KB has a twofold legal role in a network of public libraries, in providing a digital public library for the Netherlands and in ensuring the viability of the network of public libraries. This enables us to work together towards complex goals like battling illiteracy or lack of digital skills. An example of this is our work in the public library sector. In the summer of 2020, as a result of the evaluation of the library law introduced in 2015, a covenant was concluded between all library parties and 3 local, provincial, and national. A covenant was concluded between all library parties and the 3 authorities involved. And the 3 authorities were local, provincial, and national. This covenant was concluded in a reasonably short time and focused network cooperation in the domain of public libraries on contributing to 3 major societal tasks: raising and serving a nation of readers, enabling participation in the information society, and ensuring lifelong personal development. Naturally, these tasks outstrip the possibilities of the library sector alone and require the collaboration of education, research, and other parties. They are also relevant societal problems to the governments involved. The underlying logic of the covenant is that to enable libraries to contribute to these challenges, the governments continue to fund them on a reasonable level. In the past years, we have worked with a network agenda that both fleshes out the collaboration in the network and provides direction for addressing the challenges named in the covenant. This is a milestone in our nationwide cooperation and proof of the fact that working together on societal challenges is relevant for society as well as for the organizations involved. We have seen that putting people first and thinking in networks of values are two pillars of our strategy for the digital age. A third central principle is putting digital first. As a national library, we celebrate our 225th anniversary this year. In all those years, we have selected and cared for physical collections. It is only the past 30 years that we have been working on digital collections. And that means we have far more to learn here. Which is why prioritizing digital helps us to learn as an organization. We now hold the same book, in this case a manual on the preparation of sake, in two ways, physical and digital. We have a long experience with handling the physical materials. We know what to do with the material, how to describe it. Because we do not know as much about the digital version of the book or the new digital material that is coming in with websites, blogs, and other born digital material, we need to focus on learning about digital. We need digital curators, digital restorators, data stewards, and metadata specialists. Our core business is now underpinned by digital infrastructure, which means a major change in how we choose to hire and develop staff. And all of this is a different paradigm. We do not need them to do the same things as with paper. We need to learn what is necessary to fulfill the same functions. We now have books and data, and humans and machines using them. The effort in making the digital turn in our collections is very much an ongoing story. For us as a national library, that means remaining true to our heritage and taking that forward in new ways. Since the 1990s, we have also focused on gathering, storing, and sharing digital forms of the written word. Our faith in the power of the written word translates into respect and love for the collections, both digital and printed, that encompass those words. As a national library in the Netherlands, we have quite a small remit, focused on just textual material and not on sound and audio-visual material. And it leads us to work together with other heritage institutions to make sure we preserve what matters together. The written word remains central to what we do. We are a stable and immutable repository for preserving the books, newspapers and magazines published in the Netherlands. In 2016, our National Library has rewritten its mission to embrace the written word, the stories authors or fiction and narrators of non-fiction have to tell us, irrespective of their form. The written word is in our genetic code. It defines where we come from to the place where we are now. To preserve and make available stories and ideas, past and present. When people interact with that through reading and doing research, they change. And eventually, that changes society and contributes to render society more creative, competent, and smart. As a way of communication beyond time and space, the written word has been a way to build a legacy, to preserve and make available the knowledge and wisdom of previous generations and to pass on our legacy to the next generations. Artificial intelligence and the new brand of large language models are a next frontier. based on the bulk of what humans have created in the past, they now start to generate information. We need to relate to non-human produced text and do understand what happens when we use these tools to create and manage our collections. Of course, we have no fixed answers yet, but look forward to engage with these new opportunities and keep a course that enables future generations to understand our present based on our collections. Because, in the end, the only value of our collections lies in their use by people, now and in the future. In what happens when people read it, use it, learn from it. And great novelists have emphasized this. The British novelist Zadie Smith calls books a gateway to another life. Nobel Prize-winning Malala Yousafzai calls it the greatest weapon. To achieve that value, we have changed and must continue to change. To navigate and communicate in a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world, change is first and foremost an appeal to leadership. We have to play chess on 3 boards at the same time. We have to be aware of our social space, our community. We have to be aware who gives us legitimacy, who benefits by our works, and whether we do that in co-creation. We have to be aware of our digital space. How do we add value online? And we should, of course, not let our physical space slide. We definitely play our part of a mixed and complex world. That means to be clear on what plane, on which chessboard a change is playing out. It means not looking away, not even thinking in terms of loss, but of great possibilities to fulfill your fundamental role in new, emergent ways. It means to start every day with a collaborative attitude and a growth mindset. And it means to consider it as your leadership role to ask questions before giving answers. Organizational change is different in every organization, and not everyone changes in the same pace. Your context will ask different change. But if we change, let's do it in a way that really makes a difference. Putting people first in a collaborative and networked way. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the to-do list for humanity, provides an agreed-upon basis to work from. As a national library, we have asked our staff and stakeholders to define with us to which sustainable development goals we could make a meaningful contribution. And we fully agreed on these 5. As a national library in the Netherlands, we can contribute to public access to information, furthering literacy and science, reducing inequality, and preserving our cultural heritage. Our environments are different, the contexts all the more, but these goals are global. We did the same exercise with all national libraries some years ago in Kuala Lumpur, represented in their worldwide council. And though the choices each national library made were not exactly the same, the common frame of reference was of great help to discuss our goals. I have taken you through the earlier slides because I believe the focus on societal value as reflected in the development goals and user autonomy and working together as institutions in organizational networks are essential to deliver on the promise of national libraries in the digital age.
Arigato gozaimasu. I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you, and honored to speak to you after Dr. KNIBBELER has announced the strategic vision of the library. I will now share with you some of the activities which we, with our partners, try to achieve the societal development goals with. And before I do that, I will reiterate this slide that shows that these activities stem from the idea that libraries and other partners working together can achieve a value for people in every phase of their lives. This added value for people adds a value to society that exceeds the impact of just one institution. The first development goal that we work towards is promoting literacy. In the past years, in the Netherlands, we have seen a decrease in reading skills and pleasure in reading. And without these skills, people are less equipped to participate in society and learn about other perspectives. They miss the gateway into other lives and the magic that lies in stories and ideas. We therefore believe it is important to work together to create a nation of readers. We work with public libraries and other partners to achieve a learning trajectory for reading that starts very young. In the Netherlands, there is a public library nearby for everybody. Using this network, every child born in the Netherlands is sent an invitation through his or her parents to pick up a suitcase containing 2 little books and a library card that gives access to the local library services. As a national library, we support this program on a national level. We also support the program for school libraries that, as a network, we strive to have available on every school in the Netherlands. These initiatives are physical services organized close to the people involved. And of course, public libraries in the Netherlands also still have large physical collections that can be loaned and that add value to reading in the Netherlands. In the digital realm, there is a central digital public library run by the National Library. We offer more than 35,000 e-books and audiobooks to use online with a library subscription. The logic behind this is that maintaining a digital infrastructure for access to digital works and negotiating with publishers is an effort that can better be handled in one place than distributed over 134 different organizations. This frees local attention for local issues and for reshaping the local library according to local needs, and also ensures that the digital library is maintained from a digital perspective. The service aims to meet the expectations of a digital user. In this way, we play to the strength of the different partners in the network to achieve a better value for readers. As public libraries, of which the National Library is now one, we share a National Library catalog so users can see their options for getting a book online or on-site. And in this way, as a network, we can be a strong partner in promoting literacy and reading in the Netherlands. Digitization offers many opportunities for connection, but also we find increases inequality. The second Sustainable Development Goal we work towards focuses on reducing this inequality. Not possessing digital skills can severely hamper your participation in society. To master digital skills, a physical presence is very important. It's very hard to learn online if you are not skilled yet. All public libraries in the Netherlands, of which you see a map here, offer courses in which people learn the basics of digital participation, typing, emailing, and accessing the internet. These local courses, again, are supported at a national level, for instance, by providing collectively bought instruction videos. Collective agreements at a national level with different partners, translate to local access for those lacking digital skills. People who have difficulty with reading, whether they have not learned properly at school or have not achieved this level of proficiency in other ways, get help locally to achieve a higher proficiency in Dutch, aided again by modules that are provided on the national level. In this way, again, we can use all the information and knowledge we have in the country to use it as close to the people that need it as possible. People with reading disabilities as well are served with materials on a national level, but can apply for access at any local library in the Netherlands. For visually impaired children, we offer special tactile books, and we strive towards a situation in the Netherlands where everybody who wants to read or wants to learn can do so in a way that's appropriate to them. We now turn to a third development goal, one all national libraries know very well: safeguarding cultural heritage. We are, as you are, a deposit library that preserved what is published in the Netherlands physically and digitally. Our physical collections remain well cared for and cherished, and we are now building a new robotized and climate-neutral building in the coming years for our collections. It is an immense job, as you have experienced in building the Kantijkan. And as a national library, we see it as a role to keep this physical legacy, these voices of the past, available to inspire new interactions. An 18th century book of plants and insects from Suriname by Maria Sibylla Merian, a Dutch female traveler to Suriname, was used as the inspiration for a dance choreography on the anniversary of the Dutch National Ballet. And we have recently created a 3D environment for our collection of pop-up books, making it physically possible to navigate through these books on a life-size scale. It is one of the ways in which we are practicing to be prepared for the metaverse, which we see as a next generation of the internet, in which navigation through digital material will be more immersive and more intuitive and more natural for people to use. So less screen and more body. Turning to our digital collections, we are now preparing a new digital storage space, and we have started mass digitizing in the early 2000s, which was quite early for national libraries. We now have more than 100 million pages available for our users from over 100 Dutch institutions. We have focused not on digitizing our own collection as a national library, but digitizing all Dutch collections as much as possible. In this way, the user can access these pages in one place and at any time, instead of having to travel to all these institutions separately. Millions of users use these collections to search for their own personal history, for the history of the environment they are living in, or use these collections, of course, for research purposes. Recently, we have fed all the information we have on one of our masterpieces, which you see at the right, the 16th century Book of Fish, to a chatbot, enabling the chatbot to function as a digital curator who could answer all sorts of questions about the book, including its content. In this way, we are experimenting with artificial intelligence and how to learn about the opportunities and challenges it brings. We work on these developments in the context of the Dutch Digital Heritage Network, which brings together heritage institutions in the Netherlands, libraries, archives, and museums. There is a national strategy in the Netherlands for digital heritage, which aims to enhance the societal value of digital collections by making them more visible, useful, and sustainable. And we believe that what we are trying to achieve there, with persistent identifiers for digital content, connected through linked data, makes it possible to make that heritage available to people in a way that is close to their needs. We have joined forces with important Dutch heritage partners in the Cultural AI Lab because we recognize that this is an effort that is too large for any one institution to handle. Heritage is important because it tells stories about where we come from and who we are. What is preserved now reflects the choices of the past, as what we preserve now reflects our choices now. We think it is important to be very aware of the fact that there is much information available online, and we need to select what is relevant for the future, and do that in a way that is aware of diversity and different perspectives. That also means we think it is relevant to look at what social media content we should be preserving. This is a difficult question for all national libraries, and we look forward to discussing this too. This rare homepage of a Japanese expat in the Netherlands shows content from the year 2000, which would not be available for researchers in the future if it was not added to our web collection. Quite recently, actually, in an effort of web archaeology to keep very early websites available. The fourth Sustainable Development Goals is enabling research. It's a classic task for a national library. And in the Netherlands, the National Library has long played a role in the research environment. With the university libraries, we shared services around metadata and collection building. And the digital era has changed this collaboration. Research has become more globalized, and university libraries have followed suit. This means our roles have become more diverse, which asks for a new and different way to work together to support research. In the Netherlands, there are approximately 10,000 researchers in the humanities and social sciences. These sciences have taken a digital turn as well. The major data sets of digitized books, newspapers and journals, digital collections, and bibliographic services offer unique and new possibilities for research. They enable questions that couldn't be asked before and new answers to old questions. Here too, we play to the strengths of the partners involved. We work in the common lab infrastructure for arts and humanities to enable researchers to do advanced computational humanities research, from sentiment mining to pattern recognition. This work is funded by the Dutch Research Council. Of course, we also continue to serve our patrons in our reading rooms, especially those that need the tactile experience of handling books, for instance, for watermark researchers. And last but definitely not least, we work in the national platform Open Science to achieve as much open content for as many people as possible. As an institution, we offer an environment for experiment and exploration in our research lab. We have established a Researchers in Residence program, which enables researchers from outside to work with research programmers that know the library collections well in exciting projects that explore the possibilities of our digital collections. What they produce is showcased in our lab, where we develop tools, but which we use primarily as a platform for participation in research projects outside of our institutions. The lab is staffed by an advisor, 2 curators for the digital collections, and 2 research software developers. They now work on issues like genre classification through AI and looking at automatic metadata and ethics of AI. Together, these services for reading and research and our ongoing commitment to preserve our heritage ensure public access to information, one of the basic human rights, and it is also the final development goal I will talk to you about. What we all have in common as national libraries is that the performance of our task changes under the influence of digitization. On the one hand, This provides the opportunity to give people access to public information through more channels and to use that opportunity to combat inequality. On the other hand, we see that these channels also carry the risk of a society in which multiple, parallel realities exist without a view of and understanding of the world and the views of other citizens. Its disruptive effect is coming increasingly clear. One of the main challenges we face here is the fact that the trustworthiness of information is getting ever harder to assess. In this context, we work with a network of partners in media and culture to ensure that the internet remains a place where the common good is served. We work on media literacy, which focuses on questions like, do you recognize fake news? And we are very aware of the fact that algorithms can help, but can also harm. They are based on the past. The past is not without faults. The future will not be if we do not recognize this fact about AI. Addressing these challenges and addressing them together is not easy, but very necessary. This emphasizes also the importance of political attention for the preconditions within which the human right of free access to media and information can be guaranteed. And your library is established as a result of this conviction that truth makes us free. To conclude, as an organization, we have focused on putting people first, working in networks, and prioritizing digital collections to achieve the promise of national libraries in a digital age. Together with our partners, we have been learning how to achieve impact with concrete activities to work towards the big and broad sustainable development goals. For over 400 years, Japan and the Netherlands have learned together, and we are proud to take care of this Dutch-Japanese dictionary that was created by Keisuke Ito in 1841, who had worked together with Mr. von Siebold. It was meant to be able to understand each other, and as national libraries, we look forward to continuing that exchange. I thank you for your attention.